many people in America fear their government, and the government is being run by too many powerful agencies like the IRS and others. I think it's time the people take the country back through their representative government.
Hey, Mr. Politician, living on that hill, living in that life of luxury, on we the people's bill. Don't have a clue how the other half lives, and that is a shame. It's time to stop the tyranny. You keep pushing through your bills. Going for revolution, going for it now. It's time to save our Constitution while we still got the guns in our hands.
Hi, I'm Renee Kimball and welcome to Freedom TV. I didn't tell you last week what the show was going to be, but I'll tell you now. We're going to be talking about Edgemaster mobile sharpening. Now, these are a group of folks who go around in their car and they actually come to you and they sharpen whatever you've got that needs sharpening. So it's kind of a cool little idea, and you'll be learning more about that later. But first, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, sovereign soapbox. Okay, this is our regular segment that we have called Sovereign Soapbox, and this gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the things that I like to promote and also feel very strongly about. And the first thing is, ta-da, our band, my husband and I are going to be performing this coming Saturday the 13th at It's a Beautiful Pizza. It's right here in Belmont. It's a great little venue, and the person who has the venue is gracious enough to open it up to performers. We're going to be starting at 6:30, and you'll have to get there between 6:30 and 8:30 to see us because there's a second shift that comes in at 8:30. But we're going to be doing music that is, shall we say, liberty music. Music for small government folks. A lot of it's fun, a lot of it's humorous, some of it's serious, and we are going to have the Wasterment trunk full of all kinds of percussive toys for kids to play with and adults. So come along, bring your family. It is family friendly, and we'll have a good time on Saturday the 13th. Now, the second thing, and this is coming up tomorrow, is the Producers Circle. This is the day that's set aside once a month for producers here at Portland Community Media to come in and have their say. Well, even if you're not a producer, you pay for this facility whether you know it or not. It's on your cable tax bill. It goes to Comcast. Comcast pays it to the city. The city puts it in their general fund, and then they give Portland Community Media exactly how much they feel like giving them at the moment. But the Producers Circle meeting tomorrow night, come and see what's happening to the public aspect of the cable access network. This was founded over 25 years ago with the idea that there would be public input, educational input, and government input, PEG. Well, the P is sort of fluttering out the door. So this meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 will give you probably the last opportunity to really have some serious input on some rule changes, both if you're a producer and if you're just somebody who's interested in finding out what happens to your tax dollars. So we're going to go into another regular segment that we have called Surviving and Thriving. This is information on how to take care of things if you're out in the wilderness. This one's on first aid, and I think we're going to be talking about rigid splints and transport. So this is Surviving and Thriving.
When using a rigid splint, all you're doing is utilizing a stiff, in this case, stick to support the injured location on both sides or on top and bottom. So what I've done here is I've taken a limb and cut it into 4 pieces, and I've lashed it together using clove hitches with 550 cord. What I'm doing is applying the rigid splint around the knee area. what you do is you roll it around to give it support on all 4 sides, and then you just wrap it with your extra 550 cord to make it stiff and tight. Once you've wrapped it all the way around up to the top, what you can do for stability is go ahead and wrap it around one last time around one of the sticks and go back the other direction. What that does is it allows you to pull from both sides on the splint to make sure they stay in place and they stay tight and stiff. When you come to the end of your cord, go ahead and tie it off, and in this case we're going to tie it off with a clove hitch. When doing a 2-person assist, it's very important that the 2 people assisting don't actually do any of the moving. All we do is stabilize so that the injured party can lift themselves under their own power. We are here to stabilize so that she can use her good leg and then use us instead of her bad leg. Now, if you're in a situation where you only have the ability to have 1 person assist, it's important that the person doing the assisting is just there for stabilization. The injured party is the one doing all the moving and all the lifting. At this point, once again, I become stabilization so that as the injured party is moving, she does not have to use her bad leg. She relies on my weight and my strength to move. When building a stretcher for transportation, we need to be sure of a few key points. First of all, you need to be sure that the sticks that you use are long enough as well as thick enough in diameter. You need to make sure that they are strong enough to hold the individual that you're transporting, as well as long enough to be able to carry them appropriately and safely. It is very important that the joints of the sticks are very strong and sturdy as you transport the individual. Many people prefer to lash these together, and this can be done using the 550 cord. In this particular case, we're using zip ties because it's just as strong as lashing and it speeds up construction. At this point, you have 2 choices. You can either put in a rigid cross member for the injured party to lay on, or you can do like we've done and use the 550 cord, which will allow for a softer basket and a smoother ride for the injured party as they are transported.
As Gene Ward said, being prepared cannot be overstated, especially if a loved one needs first aid. Please take the time to become first aid certified and practice using your survival and first aid kits. An ounce of prevention will go a long way in getting home safe and sound. Mother Nature has her way of showing us it's her domain. Your survival kit and your first aid kit should be made to your level of knowledge, and each person should carry their own. With these 2 items, you have a better chance of enjoying the great outdoors. Hey, wait up!
Hi, welcome back to Freedom TV. And I'm here today. I saw your email, and I just, Bob Bill Bell. I just loved it, but it's Robert Bell. We want to introduce you as Bob Bill Bell, but it was a great email. So I'm glad you could be here with us today. And we're going to be talking about Edgemaster mobile sharpening.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. I just think it's a great idea. Now, this used to happen a whole long time ago. I mean, that's how people got their knives sharpened, is people would go around and knock up on their door and then ask them if they wanted their stuff sharpening. Then it went out of fashion. Oh, no, if it got dull, you threw it out. You didn't go get a new one. Now, when did this start happening again, this whole idea of going around and sharpening things at people's doors?
Well, I've been in it for about 1.5 years, but it's been going on before that. There's several other people out there that have been doing it for quite a while. So yeah, the people used to go around on their bikes, and they would have they have grinding wheels. This is, like you said, a long time ago, and they have a grinder on there and do that, and have a little bell or something that would go around. But you know, I've just decided to try and bring that back a little bit to going to people, because it's very hard for people to, you know, take their things to some place.
Yeah, it's like you walk in with this bag of sharp stuff.
Right, right,
you know?
right.
Yeah, so it's not easy to just kind of, and then invariably when you get to the shop, oh, geez, I forgot the hoe. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
This happens every single time. But if you're coming to the location, then while you're sharpening the secateurs, I can go, yeah, the hoe.
That happens all the time. I'll be sharpening something, and they go, oh, yeah, I remember.
Wait a minute, we have one more.
Or I'll make a few suggestions, you know, I'll always
cool.
remind them of a few things.
That's great.
So that's happened, and I started. I can give you a little history.
Oh, yeah. No, please
do. 2 years ago, I found myself, like a lot of people right now, unemployed.
Right.
And trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And the jobs are tougher and tougher to get. And the older and older you get, the tougher they are, too.
Doesn't get easier.
So I was on Craigslist every day, like everybody else, you know, when you're looking for a job.
Right.
And did see an ad saying, you know, sharpeners needed in the Portland area, and I kind of looked at it and went, you know,
yeah,
you know, like the back of a magazine, you know, kind of deal, pay me.
So like the
know.
old back of a matchbox. You too can be an artist.
Right. So I, you know, but I looked at it, and I called the gentleman. His name is John Holmquist out of Salem, Oregon, and he invented the piece of equipment that I use.
Oh, really?
And so I talked to him, and I purchased one, and even if I just bought it for myself, just to sharpen my own tools, because I've been in construction a long time and wanted something like that. I says, that's the worst that could happen, is I have a new tool.
Really, hey.
So, but
and being a person who likes tools, this is not a bad thing.
No, no, no. And I've been sharpening since I was a kid. I was in the Boy Scouts, so you learned at that time to do that.
Cool.
And but I've been in construction a long time, so it's sharp, keeping your own tools sharp, from, you know, chisels to whatever. And I decided just to go for it. I mean, I wasn't finding anything out there work-wise for any reasonable amount of pay.
So you might as well do something entrepreneurial there.
Yeah. And I just jumped in with both feet, and I bought a van, had it painted, lettered, and just started cold calling. I think I was a little naive at first. It was just like, well, I'm just going to go out there and, you know, be the sharpener of Portland.
Yes, and there's just going to be people with sharp things everywhere that need it sharpening.
Right. But there's there's big competition out there, and but I just started cold calling. I started from zero and just started talking to people, and would always offer to sharpen one free thing for a chef, just to show them what I do.
Excellent.
So I think it's much easier to sell a service than it is a product.
Right.
You know, you're not trying to sell them something. You're trying to help them make their life easier.
Exactly.
And their work easier.
Now, unlike a bicycle, your Chariot's a little bit bigger, and we have a couple of pictures of this I thought was so cute. We don't have the best picture, was the setup, which was the setup on the back, but we can show you what the Chariot looks like. So this is the upgraded bicycle from 1900.
Right.
So and this carries everything that you need.
Yeah, I have 2 deep cell marine batteries that provide my power with an inverter, so I can plug in my sharpener to that.
Excellent.
And that works really quite well.
Okay, that's excellent. And here's the back, and it says who you are. I think this is really cool. It's like having a mobile office where you can just take it all out. And, there you go. And I think the last one is another back shot. And then the back one was the whole thing, and it wouldn't load up. But we can talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like
it's basically my equipment. Just I built it out where I can have a slide-out tray that has my equipment in it, and where I can do the sharpening, and it's the proper level for. So,
like, do you do like house calls? Is that the thing? People
That's
call
the biggest thing. I would
How's
like to get more into more residential. I did 2 farmers markets last year, which generated some nice business. I'm not doing that this year because my business, I've built it up to about approximately 80 accounts.
Wow.
Of commercial accounts of restaurants.
Cool. That's right. I never thought of that. You could just go around to a restaurant on a regular basis, and all of their cutlery would be sharpened.
Right. A lot of them are once a month. Some of them are every other week.
Right.
I do anything from a little mom and pop that has a couple knives up to some of the larger chain restaurants that have 40 to 70 knives.
Wow.
That I would do at a time.
Right. God.
So that it varies very greatly. But I want to try and accommodate everybody. I don't want to just say I'm only doing a certain number. I do have a minimum charge when I go to someone's house, and
Yeah,
we
fair
can.
enough. It's
You know,
like,
I didn't want to drive to.
Would you do this apple peel here?
Drive to Vancouver to do a paring knife, you know, kind of thing. So
Yeah, that is
I do
kinda-
have a minimum charge,
Yeah.
and gas prices are going up, so
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But in general, I've gotten good reception. I don't profess myself to be the best sharpener in the world. I think I'm more of a utilitarian sharpener, just to make people's jobs a little bit easier.
Right. Now, tell me a little bit about the difference in sharpening. You were saying that there's, you are not the best sharpener in the world. What is I mean, to me, it's like, okay, sharpen it, yeah, sharp, you're done.
Yeah.
What would be the difference? Is there different levels of sharpening?
There is different
items?
levels. Yeah, I mean, a lot of chefs, as you know, it is the tool of their trade. It's an extension of their hand. So most of them sharpen their own knives, as it should be.
Right.
I mean, it's they really should know how to do it. What I do mostly would be a knife like this.
Prep knives.
That's just a prep knife.
Yeah.
I do chef knives
Right.
also if I gain their trust.
Yeah.
And
you trust my tools.
Yeah, and I've learned, over the past year and a half, there's some things I can do and some things I can't.
Right.
But in general, it's more for the average person, the prep cooks, and for people at home. And that gets into the whole garden tool thing too. I do garden tools, which is really important for people to do.
Is there a really, really big difference between doing like kitchen knives and gardening tools? Is there a different methodology or thing that you do on them?
A little bit. Just because you're not trying to fillet a fish or or just slice a tomato to be paper thin or something like that. But I do make the garden tools really sharp because I do want them to make their job easier too.
Exactly.
From a lopper, this style of anything.
Yeah.
And I do some upholstery shops, so I do shears also and that type of thing. And a lot of people have damaged things, like they will have broken off the tip of a knife, and they just think, well, that's it, or they don't like using it, and I can repair that.
Oh, really?
And bring it back, which I'll do today.
Oh, excellent.
To show people that it can be done. So yeah, there's a huge variation of, and like every chef has a different personality. Just about every knife does too, depending on the grade of steel that it is.
Right.
From your cheaper knives to your more expensive knives, there's a difference in the steel. And that makes a difference in the sharpening.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now, what's the difference, say, in, I've seen some of the steel knives. We have a couple of them. They're all stained and old. They're not stainless steel.
Yeah, I have one here today, which is my favorite. It's just old steel.
Okay, so there's no real difference in them and stainless steel. They'll cut just as nice with a sharp edge on it, because the two of them are my favorite.
Yeah, I have
favorites.
one I'll show you one here today.
They're
It's just
really cool
old,
knives.
and it just it's not stainless.
Yeah.
But as long as you keep them dry, people are not very good with their knives sometimes, of course. They'll just toss them in the sink or in the dishwasher, which you should never put your knife in the dishwasher. You should always just clean it and dry it and put it away.
Right.
And
what happens in a dishwasher? What would
just banging up against things
right,
and that kind of thing. And also your storage of your knives is really important too. People just chuck them in a drawer and they're rubbing up against each other.
Right.
And I even see that in a lot of kitchens, and I really try and dissuade people from doing that, of having either a butcher block that they can go in. The best is a magnetic strip.
Oh, okay, good. We're cool. We're in.
You're in? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we had a lot of knives that I use on a real regular basis, and our kitchen's very tiny. So it was just the logical way of having them up there so you could see what you got without slicing off 2 or 3 fingers when you reached for it.
It's the safest way, and a lot of people don't get that. They just, and then they go, God, my knife just is not staying sharp. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that kind of thing of use. I don't think people should ever use like a glass cutting board or a ceramic top, or
They're really hard,
marble
aren't they?
tops. People say, oh, you can cut out your marble top. Well, that's probably one of the worst things you can do for your knife. Just think of it, you're cutting on stone.
Yeah.
And so a wood one or the plastic ones,
Right.
that type are the best for cutting on. And they now have cutting mats, which are really nice too, and those are easy to keep clean. And
Right. So wood is okay for your
I think
cutting
wood
knife.
is fine, yeah. You just
I like
wanna,
it. It doesn't seem to dull the knife.
scrub it and,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, what's the difference, say, I know you use really high quality stuff and electric stuff to sharpen your knives, but I have three different kinds of sharpeners thingies at home. We've got that steel long thingy. Then
Everybody
we
should have one of
a
those.
stone, and then I've got one of these from the 1920s with little interlocking wheels like that that you run the knife through.
Right.
So
right.
what can you talk to the different quality of sharpening you get from
I
each one
think
of those?
everybody should have the sharpening steel. I think that's basically the best thing to have.
It works surprisingly well.
And I
was
brought
really
one today, and
surprised.
I can show real quickly, the use of that
Yeah.
just real quickly.
Okay, well, that's the second segment. That would be good to see
The
that.
ones that you pull the knives through, I'm not real hot on those. Those have a tendency to, actually they can make the knife real sharp for a real short period of time, but you'll keep grinding and grinding and grinding on it, and I
Yeah.
think it takes off probably too much material and may shorten the life of the knife, kind of thing. And then what was the other one that you were saying?
The other one was a stone.
A
just
stone?
a flat stone.
Yeah, I mean,
that I've used.
if you can do that, that's great. It takes a long time. Now, if you love doing that, and there are some guys out there that still use stones, and that's how they sharpen their knives, and they love it, and it's kind of get into this meditative state. But most people don't have time to do that. The sharpening steel is probably the best way to. That's mostly for honing a knife.
Right.
Now, if you do need to get it sharpened, you call me to get the edge put back on that, and then you can keep it honed with your steel.
So there's like an edge that you would put on with professional equipment, and then honing, it's just kind of refining that edge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I didn't understand that there was
And every
that
chef
difference.
might like there's different types of angles and stuff that you can put on the edge of a knife, and so you have to talk with chefs about what they like and what they're going to be using it for. And one edge might, hold its sharpness a little bit longer than another, but one, just might. It'll be sharper, but it will last less time. Another one might feel a little bit duller, but it will last longer. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, no, that's called the edge.
Yeah.
So there's different edges that you can set where it's going to be really, really, really sharp for a short period of time.
Yeah, there's an angled edge, there's a combination edge, there's a chisel edge, which is a lot of the sushi knives are kind of that style where it's flat, on one side, and then it has the cutting edge on the other side.
All right, so
that's
it's like a chisel.
Mm-hmm,
It goes in like a chisel into whatever you're cutting.
Right.
Cool.
So there's a lot to learn, and I'm like I said, I'm not going to profess that I know everything in the world, but
you're learning.
Still learning, and I will continue to do that my whole life probably.
Now, do you ever envision the time when you could, like the ice cream man used to, come down the street with the bell on?
I don't know if that quite will be practical to do it in that respect, but hopefully just through word of mouth and advertising that possibly we can do that. I mean, I advertise on Craigslist and under household services, and in a few of the local little, the bee papers that are around town. I try and do that a little bit.
So you're trying to be a neighborhood service.
Yeah, I would love to do more
cool.
residential. I know there's just everybody out there has knives and garden tools at home that need to be sharpened, but they just don't have time, they don't know where to go, and I'm just trying to fill that niche.
Excellent. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more. And we're actually going to go over, and you're going to give us a demonstration in the next segment about how to do this and what you're supposed to do and what you do.
Okay.
So we'll be in the next segment looking at some real knives and how to sharpen them. But first, we're going to take a short break and go to our roll-in of a guest that was here before. And this is Dove Lewis. I think you'll really appreciate some of the work that they do here in Portland as the 24-hour emergency pet hospital. So sit back and relax and enjoy some information about Dove Lewis.
Take a cab, walk your dog to the Lucky Lab. Honey, let us wash your salty dog.
It's a dog's world at the annual Dove Lewis Dogtoberfest, a chance for pooches and their people to mix it up with a bath and a brew.
If we can wash your little doggy, then he might get a little soggy. Honey.
More than 100 volunteers are washing hundreds of dogs, all to benefit the Dove Lewis Blood Bank. That's one of several unique programs offered to the community by the Emergency Animal Hospital, which has been saving lives for more than 30 years.
Honey, let us wash your salty dog.
Healthy animal companions are a joy to their human caretakers, but times aren't always carefree.
We might have a little internal trauma.
It is a weekend, the middle of the night. Emergency medical care is needed, and that's when Dove Lewis Emergency and ICU Animal Hospital steps up to save the life of the suffering animal.
She ate 2 dozen warm chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate can be deadly for dogs. In the waiting room, Mitra's owner, Pat, anxiously awaits word from the doctors.
It's reassuring to know there's a place you can bring your pet when things like this happen.
Mitra is getting the best care possible at one of the most advanced critical care emergency veterinary hospitals in the country. Staff at Dove Lewis 2 hospitals treat both emergency and intensive care patients. With state-of-the-art equipment, veterinary staff can use the latest in medical technology tools to diagnose and treat sick and injured animals.
No more cookies for you.
Boston Terrier started attacking my dog. They started fighting, and the pit bull ran over, started attacking Cosita, my dog, and just a nightmare. It was the most helpless feeling.
Fortunately, most patients have happy outcomes. Dove Lewis has several programs serving the animal-loving and veterinary community, including pet loss support, animal-assisted therapy, and one of the largest blood banks in the country, which serves as a national model. Volunteers like Winna come to Dove Lewis regularly to donate blood.
What's really nice about it is it's a way that dogs can give back to their dog community. Winna is actually going to save another dog.
Bear looks forward to her regular visit.
Once we found out we had both of our dogs typed, and Bear had the universal blood type, so I think it's a wonderful program.
Bear and Winna join more than 300 volunteer dog and cat blood donors who together help treat nearly 1,000 animals each year. That's why we call these lifesavers superheroes. It is a fact of life. We often outlive our beloved animal companions. Dove Lewis recognizes and honors the human-animal bond and understands that feelings linger long after the loss of a pet. The Pet Loss Support Program offers a nurturing place for bereaved pet owners to grieve. One of the first in the country, the program offers 5 free drop-in therapy sessions each month.
He was 15. He was just such an integral part of the family.
Hannah came to me at 4.5 years old. The minute she and I connected, I just knew she had to be my dog.
He was 14 years, 13 days old when I lost him. We were together for a little more than 11 years.
And through the sharing comes healing.
It's absolutely amazing, the transformation that's happened to me through the program.
And through the Memorial Art Workshop, participants can create lasting memories of their departed animal companions in the form of art.
I made this piece of artwork glass at the session. There's a little bit of Hannah's ashes, and I just kind of feel she's always with me. I just get in there with all these people who are in the same situation you are, that they're grieving and they're working through it.
Red-tailed ox sitting in the middle of the freeway watching cars go by is not normal behavior.
Good Samaritans bring many stray and wild animals to Dove Lewis for care.
They do this to make themselves look scary.
A father and son found this red-tailed hawk in the middle of a highway and brought him to Dove Lewis.
He was on the freeway, in the middle of the freeway, just sitting watching the cars go by. They were able to encroach right up on him and scoop him right up.
Dove Lewis never turns away an injured stray or wild animal. Dove Lewis spends hundreds of thousands of dollars each year on medical care for these animals. A search for owners of lost pets is then launched on the Lost and Found Internet database.
Who are you going to go see? Oh, where's that?
Sometimes it's people who are sick, and Dove Lewis animal-assisted therapy teams come to their aid.
Hurty, come say hi to Candace.
Dove Lewis award-winning therapy program, another free community service, brings 200 volunteer teams, animals and their people, to various locations throughout the Portland metro area.
Oh, he likes that.
Hartley and his handler Naomi visit patients at Dornbecker Children's Hospital. Therapy teams also visit other hospitals and places like assisted living facilities, schools, and libraries.
There's the doggy. This is Hartley. Hartley. This is Hartley. Hartley, sit. Good boy. Oh my gosh. Hartley.
These therapists are specially trained to interact with people, helping to cheer them up and bring their stress level down.
Hi, Trinity. Do you want to visit from Hartley? Yeah? Okay. Can he come sit on your bed with you? Okay. You come here, and all the kids here at Dornbecker are so amazing, and I would say almost all of them have like a total love of dogs and animals. So for him to be able to come and sit up on a bed, and a kid to be able to pet a dog and be able to be having that sort of really outdoors almost experience while they're stuck in the hospital is just really great.
He loves kissing.
Yes, he does.
For children like Trinity, who get to pet and play with Hartley, it is the brightest part of their day.
It brings a lot of smiles to a lot of people, and that makes me really happy.
We at Dove Lewis believe in the invisible yet undeniable bond between humans and their beloved companions. We believe animals are not pets, they're gifts. We believe they speak to us and that their happiness is tied to ours. Dove Lewis exists because of this unique relationship. We are committed to providing Portland's best friends with the best in emergency critical care. If there were ever a place in this world that symbolized the love that people have for animals, it would be Dove Lewis.
Hi, we're back here at Freedom TV, and we're with Robert Bell and Edgemaster Mobile Sharpening. They come to you, which is kind of cool. And Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can tell me about some of the stuff. There's quite an array here of stuff that I never thought you could sharpen. This is cool.
Right, I just wanted to show a good variety of things that people can have me do for them at their home. And I'll just start naming off a few things here. You know, we have a lawnmower blade.
I never would have thought of that. That's amazing.
You've probably seen these under your mower where they're just, oh my God, what you see is just so banged up. But I can bring it back to life and at least get a sharp edge on it, so it's doing what you do.
Rather than ripping the grass out of the ground, you might actually cut it.
Right, that's the whole thing about it's more about cutting things than pulling things.
Exactly.
So, and I can do your axe.
Now these
hedge trimmers.
Now these have kind of a little serrated guy on them.
Yeah, and you just sharpen.
Turn that around and show them. Show people what that.
It does have a serrated edge on it. What I do is sharpen this edge, which is just the straight edge, and I can kind of hone this just a tiny little bit, but you want to keep that serration on there.
Right, so the serration actually helps in the cutting.
Right, when you're cutting thicker stuff.
Okay.
Your basic loppers. You know, I do both of these.
Now, do you sharpen both sides?
No, again, just the sharp edge side.
The sharp edge side.
And then it goes against this flat side.
And that's what keeps it cutting.
That's what cuts it.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And then we have your shorter ones also.
Right, and that's the same principle.
Same principle.
Right.
Have some grass trimmers here.
People actually use those still, huh?
Still do.
Amazing.
Yeah. I do some upholstery shops, and I do actually quite a few scissors. And so people ask me a lot is this worth sharpening? It's an inexpensive thing, but I think if it's something that you like, that it's worth sharpening. Yeah. Instead of in the landfill, which we become such a
metal.
We become a very disposable society, and even though it might, you can go out and buy it possibly for what it might charge to have it sharpened, at least you're not tossing it into the landfill.
And to me, it's important because you get things that you like to use,
Right.
and the next thing that you go by, you may not like it nearly as much.
Right, right.
Now, with a hoe, something like a hoe, what's the difference in how you would sharpen this and why?
Well, you know, when you're trying to go around your plants and stuff, you want it to just cut that weed out.
Right.
You know, you want it to be sharp. So that's just, you know, it's just having a sharp tool to do the things you want.
Right, and this edge, if we can get this look here, this is a beveled edge in the front, and then a flat edge in the back.
Right, because when you're doing this, you want that sharp
edge to cut right through it. Yeah.
So I do quite a bit of that. I also do shovels. I have one here.
Okay. Shovels. You'd sharpen a shovel?
Sharpen a shovel if you're going to be cutting through sod or anything like that. Also, there's sod cutters, you know, and if you want a sharp edge on that. So.
Right, or even if you're just going through dirt.
Right. Well, I want to say the biggest bad thing about your garden tools, or that's the biggest detriment to them, is dirt is really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds funny, you're using a shovel, but when people are using these, you know, if you're cutting, you just want to cut the plant. You don't want to cut into dirt or that.
Exactly.
Because it's just going to dull it right away if you're cutting in dirt. People are down in their roots and stuff, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's just going to need to get sharpened again.
That's true.
And that's my job.
Now, what about these nice little things like the Leatherman tools? I mean, I wouldn't think of sharpening stuff like that.
Well, they have, you know, blades on them.
That's true, yeah.
So I do a lot of those. I have my own that I do a lot. A lot of people think that you can't, I think I'll move kind of into the knives a little bit.
Alrighty. And then we'll do
I'll make one point. People think that you can't do serrated knives, and when they get to a point where they're just not doing what they should do,
what's the point?
Right. And they are disposable also, but at the same time they can be sharpened. And you just have to be really careful with doing that, and just not to take off too much material.
Right.
So I just want to let you know that it's possible to do that.
Now, what's on this knife here? It's got these little divot guys in there. What is the purpose of that when you have a knife like that?
The actual purpose of that is supposedly that helps the food to slip off easier.
Bet me. It's never worked for me.
And that's whenever you see that, you know, that's the idea of it. That it helps the food to fall off of it better.
I'll believe you. Thousands wouldn't, but I'll believe you.
So we have your normal chef knives, 8 and 10 inch. This is my favorite knife, and we were just talking about that. How rusty, you know, it's just old, you know, steel. Yeah. And also we have the broken tip knife, which I'm going to repair here.
Excellent.
I won't have time to sharpen all these things, but I'm going to sharpen a few of them.
Okay, yeah.
And
just show us how it works.
you know, this one, at the moment,
it's real
dull.
Not cutting hair.
And that's another point too. I don't people. A lot of times they do this kind of thing, like, wow, it's not. I don't really sharpen knives to cut hair.
Yeah,
I or to cut paper, except for the scissors. A knife I use to sharpen to cut food.
Right.
So there's just a little bit difference in that, you know. And this is a brand new knife that I got, which is called the Ergo Chef. And so they're designing knives now to be more ergonomically correct on your hands.
Of being a straight
it's more of an angle, you know, as opposed to this here, which I'm hoping that will help a lot of chefs, because, you know, it's like any other job. If you're doing it repetitively, you're going to have some, you know, leading down to carpal tunnel.
Yeah, you're going to have some issues
and
going
so
on.
I like this. I just got that, and I'm going to try and, you know, promote that a little bit.
Well, let's sharpen.
Let's sharpen a few things.
Okay.
Why don't I do this first? This has
poor little baby.
There's a broken tip off of it. I see this regularly.
I have one of those.
Some really nice knives. They are harder steel, which can make them be kind of brittle. I mean, if you drop them, the tip just snaps right off of them, and they're really expensive knives, and I can repair that kind of thing.
Excellent.
So why don't I do that first?
Okay, we're ready for some noise here.
It's a little bit noisy.
Yeah,
so, anyway.
Amazing. That's incredible.
And this is just a little, basically scrubbing pad, because whenever you're sharpening, you form a burr.
Oh, okay.
And this is helps to remove that burr.
So it just makes it a little bit, tiny bit smoother. Okay, let's do it. Oh, cool. Excellent.
And I also use just a soft wood sometimes to remove that burr and kind of realign the edge.
Okay, so that actually does help. That's amazing. Look at that.
And so, you know, it doesn't have the exact same profile that it did before.
Right, but it does. Hold it up again. That's really incredible. That's really
so that,
amazing.
you know, it at least, you know, I've seen some, you know, broken off way down here, some big knives, and people just go, man, can you do anything with this? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Just make it a little
and they're just so happy when you can do that.
Well, that's cool.
Now, this is the really dull one I have. This is my favorite knife that I like using at home. So.
I like the sparks. 4th of July. That's incredible. Okay, let's look.
And this has a little bit of a burr on it here. And I also, a gentleman who taught me, his name is Howard Voth, he actually uses his thumbnail to try and do this.
Okay.
And I did it once, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So I went to the beauty supply store, and I bought fake fingernails to kind of help remove that burr a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I use. And
okay,
yeah, that's pretty good. I forgot to bring a cutting board, but I have my box that I usually carry knives around in.
Sharp that is.
You know.
Whoa.
You know, so we'll do a little
paper
thin there. So that's what I try and do for people, you know, kind of thing.
Give them
do that
a
kind
sharp
of
edge to make it easier in the kitchen.
Right.
Anything that makes it easier in the kitchen, I'm down with.
Now your stainless steel knives, because of the carbon content of that, that's what causes the spark.
Right.
But your stainless steel knives, it's not going to do that at all.
Oh, look at that. Not a spark at all. Excellent.
And let's see.
Ooh, slicey thin. Now, why doesn't it spark? It doesn't have any carbon in it?
It's just the carbon content. The more higher the carbon content, the more sparks it is.
You get, so
and this has very little in it.
Excellent.
So now I'll do your basic loppers here, and that will have a lot of sparks in it because it's not stainless steel. Again, I can't strive enough that water is such a big problem with these two. People cut their plants and they kind of just chuck them in the garage and they're wet or dirty.
Yeah.
You need to clean your tools.
Right.
Clean them off, dry them off, little WD-40, and they'll last a lot longer.
Now, can you actually use like these little scratchy pads on? Because sometimes it gets gunk on it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like rust, you mean?
Well, no, it gets like stuff from the trees and stuff of the plants.
Then you might need some type of cleaner to if it was gummy to goof off or WD-40 or whatever kind of thing. So I'll do this one real quick.
Okay. Okay. I wondered how you were going to do that.
So you're going to form the burr on there too.
Right, with the fake fingernail.
Right, I'm going to take it off with that.
Great.
But, and then you just, I don't know if you can see the shininess of that edge. That's bringing it back to sharpness.
Now, my husband wanted me to ask you, is there anything you can do once you break loppers like this, like we've broken our little thingy off? Is there any way of fixing things like that?
What are you talking about now?
The thing that holds it
shut.
Together? Yeah. There's like a little thing that goes over there.
Yeah,
and,
it's called the rubber band that you brought
the rubber
here.
Band?
Yeah.
No, I put it away.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Get a rubber band.
Yeah,
okay,
there's not
much
you can do about that at that point.
Excellent. Well, I want to really thank you for showing us all this stuff. And we're going to take another short break, and then we're going to go back and talk some more, and maybe some of the viewers will have an opportunity to ask you a few questions. But right now, if I know which camera I'm supposed to be looking at, this one, yay! We're going to go to another little roll-in short. Oh, this one. Hello, how are you? And this is a movie that we're actually going to bring here to Portland this summer. So look for this in July, and it's called Indoctrinate You. And it's all about, I don't know, some of the agendas you might see in some of the college campuses here in Portland. So sit back and relax and enjoy Indoctrinate You.
Anything which is intimidating, which is going to poison the campus environment, can't be allowed.
Like joining a church. You have to be a believer. You have to have the right set of views. We must preserve heterogeneity. Heterogeneity we like.
Rather than saying we're suppressing speech, let's say what we're doing is ending harassment. The problem then becomes, what is the definition of harassment?
If you're offended by it, that's implicitly considered harassment.
Who cares if you're offended? Why is that against the law now to offend someone?
This is hardly a marketplace of ideas. This is a monopoly.
They're quite ruthless about their desire for a kinder and gentler world.
We're working on a documentary film.
Call the campus police.
You need to leave or you're going to go to jail.
Well, how can I get an appointment if no one will return my requests?
You're welcome to call me.
Instead of calling you, can I just talk with you now?
No, I'm busy.
If a professor is comparing one of the students who took his class to Hitler and to suicide bombers, a student, by the way, from the Middle East, then I think that's a story.
They're afraid to give their viewpoint in class because they know it won't be tolerated.
If you're open-minded, you have to be this. If you're a good-hearted person, you have to be this.
They really believe that this is the only view any reasonable person could possibly hold.
I've been learning in geography class that gender is socially constructed.
I never knew that carbon chains had anything to do with politics, but they do. I don't know.
Why won't you say what's wrong? Why won't anyone believe your story? Why won't you say what's wrong? Why won't anyone believe your story? Why won't you wait, don't wanna raise? Why won't you listen, go ahead and speak? Why won't you wait, don't wanna raise? Why won't you let go ready?
I'm politically liberal. Your average sort of mainstream Democrat doesn't necessarily believe this is really happening. I didn't really understand it was really happening.
Why won't you wait, don't wanna raise? Why won't you let go ready?
The big buzzword on college campuses is diversity, diversity, diversity. We talk about diversity of skin color. We talk about having different ethnicities come to campus. The university is totally ignoring diversity of thought.
Welcome back to Freedom TV, and I'm here with Robert Bell, and we're talking about Edgemaster mobile sharpening. Cool. And this is your time. If you have a question of Robert, do call in. You'll see the numbers on the screen, and this is only on the live program, of course, and we'll try and answer the questions for you. I wanted to ask you personally, why did you decide that sharpening things was a really cool thing to go and do?
Well, I think it was just that my background had that in it. I've been in construction a long time. I've never fit in the box very well, the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday kind of thing, and I wanted to have my own hours. Also of, just kind of doing your own thing. A big thing is, as we age, I didn't want to do something that would hurt me.
Right.
And construction over the years just kills you.
Yeah.
And if you do it the rest of your life, you're just going to wind up a
It's going to be
cripple.
a short life.
Well, no, you can do it a long time, but in your older, age, it's
Yeah.
going to, and I just went to find something that I could do that didn't hurt me physically.
Right,
So
physically.
that was a big thing with this. And, I'm just trying to tap into some of my skills. And I've never sold anything in my life, so cold calling was a big challenge for me.
Yeah,
and I
that
had
would be.
a lot of rejection, and I had some periods where that was pretty tough, of learning to kind of
Yeah.
deal with that. I still have a little trouble with it. I think we all do.
Yeah. But you
So-
get over it.
Right,
and
right,
you move on.
right,
And I think
right.
we've got a question for Robert. Do you have a question for him? Yes? Do we have a question?
Yes, I was wondering if you did saws. Those are always intimidating because of all the amount of it, and also electric hedge clippers, which have all those multiple edges to do.
No. If it has a straight edge on it, then I can do it. But I can't do like saws or saw blade, like a table saw blade or a chainsaw blade. That's a real specialized area, and you'd have to send that out to have that done.
What about the hedge clippers he was talking about? Because they have a flat surface and they go across each other, the electric hedge clippers?
Yeah, that's just a whole other thing.
That's a whole other
where
world.
you would want to take that to someone like a professional shop that specializes in that type
And that
of thing.
kind of things.
Right.
I know the other thing that I found out the hard way was pinking shears. Oh my.
Yeah, can't really do those.
No, they kind of ruined the pinking shears.
Right.
And so they thought
right.
they could do it, and so that is something that has to go to somebody who
Yeah.
really, really specifically knows what they're doing.
And I'm pretty
with
good
that.
at telling people if I can do something or not do it. I don't
Right.
ever want to say yes, I can do that, and then not do it, and possibly ruin their piece of equipment.
And that's,
that's
not fun, not fine.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where people have equipment that is, basically ruined. And so that gives me kind of, free license. It's useless now, so I can, work with that.
Yeah. So.
But also, I wanted to mention that there's a few of us around town in the greater Portland area that do this. And Bill Baines works the Hillsdale Farmers Market every Sunday.
So he's there every Sunday?
Every Sunday. I mean, in the wintertime that changes a little
Yeah.
bit, but right now it's every Sunday, and he'll be happy to do everything that I did for you here today. And so if you live in that area, it's convenient. Because some people, they want to, you're shopping.
Yeah.
You want to go home and cut your fresh vegetables right away. And
exactly.
It's good he can do that while you're shopping.
That's cool.
So
you can drop off your knives and then come back and pick them up.
There you
what
go.
a cool idea.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
I did it last year, but I've just become a little bit too busy to do that myself. But
now, with this, do you see like there might be a time where you could make a circuit where, unlike the farmers markets, where you have to rely on it being that day and you go to the farmers markets, but like sharpening stations?
Possibly. Well, right now people can bring things to my home.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't have a minimum charge.
Oh, okay.
That gives an option for them there too.
Right.
Whereas if I'm driving all over, I want to have a minimum charge.
Yeah, you got to pay for your gas.
So I guess my house.
At the moment. Yeah.
I like that it's, we're individuals, and I don't foresee that I'm going to be expanding this to hiring employees. This is my business, and this is what I'll be doing. So that's kind of what's going on right now.
Excellent. But it's definitely a very entrepreneurial way of looking at a situation. You didn't have a job. Hey, how about if I invent one?
Yeah, I didn't work for almost 5 months, and
Wow.
I spent out of savings, which, fortunately I had it. A lot of people don't. Now I'm trying to build that savings back up.
Right.
But it was a very stressful period and everybody out there right now knows this, who's lost their job or doesn't have a job, that, I thought I was going to lose my house, during that period, just because I was making no money and spending out of savings. And, I've been doing it for a year and a half now.
Right.
And it's been going pretty good. It's built every month. I've expanded my business.
And you're providing something that you need, because if you're going to eat food, you need a sharp knife. That's the way it goes.
That's right.
So, and I want to talk to you a little bit about, we only have a few minutes left. Well, we got a few minutes, about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What, if you were going to have knives, if you were going to have like a set of knives in, say, a kitchen, what would be like the 4 knives you would recommend that everybody sort of have?
You don't need that many.
Oh, really?
It's good to have, just a regular chef knife.
Okay, and by chef knife, you mean one of those, like over there, with this, like the triangle?
An 8 to 10 inch chef knife.
Now, what's the difference between that one? I like mine. It's like a chopper. It's like a, it's like a huge guillotine, actually.
Well, it just another point I'd like to make is just whatever you're comfortable with.
Really? So
I mean, whatever feels good in your hand, has the right weight.
Right.
And you feel safe with, and that's another reason. People use dull knives, and that's extremely dangerous. I mean, if you slip off of something and cut yourself with a dull knife, it's really bad news.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds a little funny, but if you cut yourself with a sharp knife, it's a lot better, because that's going to heal a lot quicker. I know it's kind of weird to talk about that, but you want to keep your knives sharp and to do the job right. So, but maybe a paring knife, is always a good knife to have. If you can use a cleaver. There's some nice Asian cleavers out there, and if you can get used to the size of it, it's a really, really good utilitarian knife.
So basically, you don't need that many. Just make sure they're sharp.
I mean, if you're doing fish, then of course you'd want a fillet knife.
Yeah.
If you're boning a lot of things, chicken and meat, you'd want a boning. I mean, it can go on and on for each type of thing that you use.
And the basic bottom line thing in our last few seconds before I have to be quiet and go away is that you need to have it very sharp and utilize the knife as the instrument it was meant to be, rather than using it to hack and saw like I have sometimes done.
And I didn't get to show you how to use a steel today, but you can get books on this, that can teach you how to use a steel and
keep them sharp.
Keep them sharp.
And thanks so much for being with us. I really appreciate your coming in and showing us all this, and we'll look forward to seeing you, either having you come out to where we are, or if you're at a market, or we can go to Hillsdale Market.
Yeah, if you see me driving around town, just call the number. I get that all the time. People will be behind me.
Excellent.
Give a call.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you
and thank you for being here. And we'll see you next week with another episode of our favorite show, Freedom TV. Next week, you're going to be very surprised. See you then. Bye.
I cry for my country, for the pain that it's been through. She's been made to suffer for the profit of a few. Storm clouds are out forming, winds of change now touch our shores. Our heat forefathers are crying as the dream's been crucified. America, I show my love for thee with strength and loyalty. America, I show